All right, so I'm here with one of my childhood best friends, Charla Horn.
Hi.
And she is the first person that I will be interviewing for this podcast that doesn't have a name yet.
Yay.
But is really a passion project of mine to be able to connect with women in my life who are doing amazing things and who are taking risks and really trying to connect what they do and how they operate in this world with their passions and what they feel is really aligned to their spirit.
And I'm honored to be a part of our unknown podcast right now. unnamed podcast right now. So I'm just really excited to be here. But so I want to give
Thank
you that.
you, boo. Hug time. Thanks so much.
Like Sarah said, I'm from Jackson originally, and we grew up together. I wound up going to Mississippi State for my bachelor's in psychology, and then I moved to Atlanta shortly after I graduated for my master's, and then I lived and worked in Atlanta for like 2 years maybe, and then I moved to DC, and I got into a PhD program at George Washington, and then I got a promotion with a job at a residential treatment center for women with eating disorders. So I was managing that. I was in school, and that was like stressful, like so stressful. And I wound up like really, literally the first day of school, and it's like, you moved to DC. I moved to DC in March of 2018. I didn't start school until August, and literally the first day of school was like, I don't want to do this. Like that was literally where I found myself as far as like how I wound up getting back to Jackson. And I just was not passionate about my program. I didn't feel like I was as passionate about it as I should have been. And it just didn't really align with my career goals. Like something about being there just felt off. It just didn't feel
like you
authentic.
could feel it.
Yeah, like I could feel it. And so like I was just like, okay. And then so I wound up going back to where I am today. I wound up transferring programs or really reapplying to programs and got into the clinical psychology program at Jackson State. So I started that this August of 2019, and I just finished, thank God, my first semester.
Congrats.
Woo! So that is where I am now, but it was just a big like fight with myself to figure out like, why don't you want to be here? You know, because I think, you know, when you move, you're offered this great opportunities. Like you got in a PhD program at George Washington. You know, you're going to be living in DC. I had family in DC. I had a very, very super accommodating living arrangement with my family. You know, like you don't have anything to complain about, and you just don't feel good about where you are.
Yeah.
And it just sucks.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't feel good to feel that almost like dissonance with yourself. Like, I want to be here, like I want to like it, but it feels so forced. Like it feels so like oh my God, I guess I'll do my homework because I should, but there was feel like my passion for why I got into counseling and psychology in the first place was just like dwindling. It was just like getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And it felt so gross. It just felt really gross. And I think also with me working in mental health as well, and I was managing a treatment center whose corporate company, I think that was my first time also being on the corporate side of mental health, because I had just been like working in private practice and being super hands-on with my clients. So having like, I have these corporate guidelines I have to follow for admitting people who are sick, who are physically.
So like feeling limited.
Yeah, feeling limited and feeling very, what's the word I want to use? Feeling very like discriminative almost towards, why are we taking this person into our facility? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like certain people were great fits for the program, you know, what our program offered, and some people really should be in the hospital.
Right.
But you want them to come here out of like, you know, a financial standpoint. And it just was
It's like soul sucking.
It was so sucking. It was just like, like I don't want to do this. I don't know why you're doing this. And then seeing that entire company being based off of these ideals, it was like, I just really cannot be a part of this anymore. Like it got into like a very toxic place, I think, with understanding my role and like, but if I don't do the things you want me to do, like my job is in jeopardy. So it's like, I need to power through this so I can still make a living for myself. Cause at that point I had like said I wasn't going to go back to school. I didn't return to school this January. I was like, I'm gonna apply for schools. Kind of thing. And so just having that job being the only thing that I had, I was just like, oh my God, I've got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, It was rough. It was rough.
But that's amazing. And I feel like what you said really resonates with me as far as when your spirit is really speaking to you. And some people use spirit, some people feel like say intuition.
Right.
Whatever it is, it's that feeling in the pit of your stomach where you're like, I am not where I need to be.
Right.
I'm not aligned. Something is off. And I feel like we, something, whatever you want to call it, speaks to us in those moments. And I think it's so easy to drown it out. Like,
right.
It may not be comfortable.
It pushes you to the side.
Right. But it's like, but I've got everything already in place and I'm already on my route and I'm on my path. And right. Like, even if it's like your apartment, like I already have the apartment. Right. All of these reasons why you shouldn't do something. But I think those are the moments that are so important for defining who we are, how the path is going to veer into these ways that lead to a life that is really fulfilling and joyous and impactful, not just for, in our lives, but in the lives of others, because we're where we really need to be.
Right.
And first of all, like, I'm so happy for you that you went through that. It sounds like you really took time to listen to yourself and to take a lot of risks around your career and your education. And I hope that people hear that and are hopeful, and anyone who is sitting in there, literally studying right now, like not studying because they want to listen to this podcast, or like on their drive to a job that they don't like,
or that they're unsure about, is this the right thing for me, or I know that I'm not here for the right reasons. Right. That, like, that's okay. It is okay to feel like that, but I think, taking, like you said, like that leap of like, okay, what are we going to do about it?
Right.
Because the kind of life that I was living, doing those things, it wasn't satisfactory. It didn't feel good. Like, it didn't feel good going to work in the morning. It didn't feel good being there. It didn't feel good, like, doing, like, I feel like my heart just wasn't in anything that I was doing. And it just felt so draining.
How did you know that you had gotten to a breaking point?
I think with school, what happened? I started, that semester I think was really rough for me in general because I was balancing working and being in school. And so that transition was really rough from the start of the semester. And then I guess realizing too, and then we talked about this a little bit earlier before we started, but like schools, the understanding politics of universities, and like that even though this is a big university, it's a very well-known, prestigious place, if they don't care about that program, they're not going to pay attention to the program. They're not going to give money to the program. They're not going to give time. But any business major, any engineering major, any chemistry, biology, they're like state-of-the-art buildings and all these high-rise. I mean, we're in DC and we were in like a 3-story brick building and we were in the basement of the building just running clinic, and it was just like, what is this? This is crazy.
And you were at George Washington University.
I'm at George Washington University in the middle of like the heightened DC prime area, and it's just like, what? Like we're offering counseling services to the students at the school, and you're not giving us support to do that. Right. And that's just, I couldn't really wrap my mind around that. And then I had like a negative experience with a professor, and I've never really had a truly negative interaction with a professor. And I think she was a woman of color, and I think that really kind of tipped me in a different direction. Not that, I mean, I know people have their own things going on, whatever, but I think for her to kind of choose to single me out in a negative way was so off-putting to me that I couldn't really, it took me a minute to kind of bounce back from that. So I think seeing the university's political problems, having this negative, and this particular professor, we only had 3 classes. She taught 2 of the 3.
Okay.
So I'm with you majority of the time. Yeah. She was also my advisor.
Y'all spent a lot of time together.
I was around each other a lot, but she would like literally noticeably single me out in class or call on me and pick on me or not in a, I'm open to challenging me in a way of challenging me to look at another perspective. I'm still learning, so I'm in school, but you're challenging me in a way to make me feel smaller. Right. And that is something I really cannot deal with. Right. In a professional or in a personal.
Like the intention
wasn't to help me. Right. It was not to be supportive. Right. It was not to lift me up and say, oh, you're also a student of color. Let me help you, figure the program out. How can I support you? Let me be hands-on, da-da-da. It was more like, oh, I think you're intimidated by me.
Oh, really? And it was a power struggle.
It was a power struggle that I don't know if she felt some type of way about me. I don't know what it was, but she really like singled me out in a way I've never experienced before. And I think for it to be from another woman of color who I did look up to, I respected, you know, I didn't show any disdain towards her, even in the times where I feel like she was being nasty, that it was just like, what are we doing here?
Right,
you know? And then
right.
I clung to a supervisor I had who was a professor there, and I wound up just being in her, I like bawling, wound up just crying, and our supervision is like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here.
Right.
Like, I just don't feel like I'm supposed to be here. And we did what we call sand tray, where it's like little, people don't know what this is. So it's like little figurines. So you'll go in, some therapists who specialize in it, they'll have like bookshelves full of like, there might be little people or like a baby or dragons or animals,
cool.
airplanes, cars, like houses, stuff like that. And it's like it's like probably the size of this table, and it's sand. And you choose your items, like whatever kind of jumps out at you.
Okay.
And then you kind of arrange them.
In the sandbox?
In the sandbox.
Okay.
Kind of however, you know.
Whatever
you're feeling in the moment. And then she'll like say like, okay, well, tell me about it.
And that's how she gets information out of you. Oh,
so she does that kind of therapy with children. She's all amazing. I don't know if I can name drop. Her name is, I'll name drop her because she was phenomenal. Mary DeRay in DC. She's phenomenal.
And she's a counselor?
She's a PhD level therapist, or counselor, professor, and I think she was a trauma specialist.
Okay.
And she was just phenomenal. She was one of the best supervisors I've ever had, like giving me feedback. Like I talked to her a lot about kind of emotionally what was going on, and she just like read me, and she was just like, well, you seem to be unsure. You just seem to be unsure.
What a superpower to have. To
right.
Bring that amount of information out
from
of someone.
I'm
like,
just picking figurines.
Yeah. That's
and
amazing.
So I'm like, okay. And so we so she helped me give clarity, and it was better for me to get it from her because she's there. Mm-hmm. She's in the program. Like, she knows the stressors I'm talking about. Right. She knows what I'm referring to. She can understand. She knows the people who are, causing issues or whatever, or being helpful, So it was really her and my own personal therapist who I talked to a lot about it, like really battling with feeling ungrateful. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like I'm just being ungrateful. Right. And I was trying to hide my frustrations with like the lack of passion I felt in my life with, you're just being ungrateful. You live in DC, you've always wanted to live in DC, you live with your family, you're barely paying rent, and you live in the city, you have a job, you're a manager, you're, in a PhD program at George Washington. Like, how are you not happy?
Right.
What's wrong with you?
Oh,
like,
that's a terrible feeling.
And it's such a terrible feeling, but I kept trying to like mask it under, no, you're just tripping. No, right. You don't, like, this isn't real.
But you knew something was off.
And I was just like, it's
something
not right.
very real. Right. Something that was more than just not feeling great. But it's like, no, but something's off, and I need to figure it out, and I deserve to have the life that I want and that I need, even if it's not this, like,
even if it means you're gonna pack up and you're gonna move to Jackson, Mississippi, which is what happened. But I fought myself every step of the way, just like to the point where I was probably the most anxious I've ever been in my life. I think I was probably a little depressed, a little bit, just like trying to fight with, or when I decided like, okay, you're not gonna go to class in January, but then I'm like, well, what if you don't get in? What if you don't get into another school and you're just gonna
start to like second guess yourself and
so
like everything feels all or nothing.
Exactly. So I'm like, so why are you going to quit? You don't even have a plan yet. That's stupid. Just like talking myself out of the game. And people are always like you're a therapist, like you probably, have the best stuff. So I'm like, no, like I have bad days too. I have rough phases where I'm like, I'm unsure. I'm seeking my therapist because I don't have the clarity I need to make decisions. Like, I don't,
Thank you for being so real, because I do think that also shout out to therapy, and all of us are in therapy, and also like the people who are trying to do work to make it more accessible. Yes. Because we know, like, I know it's been so helpful for me, and I do think there's this idea like, oh, you're a therapist, you know everything, like you're the person I have to go to for all the answers. Like, how was your life not together? Everything's perfect. And it's not. No one is perfect. And I think we're all on this journey of figuring out. Honestly, I feel like it's a way of life. alignment and
it's like a
figuring
constant journey. It does
Absolutely.
not end. There's no like on this day in 2042
I became successful.
all my worries are gone.
Right.
Like it just doesn't work
Right.
like that.
And it's constant rediscovery of who you are and choosing every single day to love yourself and to ask those hard questions and ask again, like, is this what I really want to choose today?
Right.
Is this what I want to continue to choose and
Right.
reassess? And it sounds like you are on a real journey of rediscovery, which is so difficult.
So difficult.
So difficult. How did you really feel your spirit in those moments that were really hard? How did you keep a level head, or how did you find joy? How did you keep yourself moving forward when things got really anxiety filled or fear filled or dark?
I think I dove a lot into praying personally and just trying to be mindful of like, what do you want to do? You know, what are you trying to? Here's my mom calling. I mean, like, and what are the things that have like rooted your life? You know what I mean? Or what was the original plan here? You know, because I feel like, you know, you get into your career and, you know, I started working for this company. Oh, you promoted me. Now I'm a manager. I'm managing a treatment center. Like, oh, like, whoo, that's amazing.
Right.
But then like, okay, well, how did I get here? Because what I feel now is not fulfilling. It's not, you know, it doesn't give me the same
accolades
joy.
aren't
Right.
necessarily fulfilling.
Right. No, it's like it's just a
society tells
title.
us they should be.
Exactly.
Right.
It's just a title. But I was just like, do you even like this? Like, do you even want to work in administration and mental health? Like, I think we kind of hate it because I wasn't seeing clients.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that one-on-one hang.
The parts
with
that you had loved about it, you weren't even getting to do
I
anymore.
wasn't even getting it.
Right.
So I was like, okay, what do we need to do here? So I think trying to figure out what my bigger picture is, and like really trying to dive into prayer, like about my purpose. What is my purpose supposed to be? Like I would ask, you know, I mean, I know other people have different religious backgrounds, but I would ask God, like, where is my purpose? Like, show me, reveal to me where I should be. What should I be doing? What should I be focusing on? Because I know this isn't it. You know, so like I would just try to like, please, like, show me, guide me, push me in the directions, make me feel uncomfortable where in a place that I'm not supposed to be.
Right.
And that's what kept happening over and over again. So I was just like, okay, well, you know, you're not supposed to be here.
Right.
You know, and I think originally I was in the counseling education and supervision program at George Washington, and originally I applied for clinical psychology programs. That was my first love. Psychology's always been my first love. I love counseling, but I wanted both. I never wanted like one or the other. So I was just like, why don't you just apply for the program you wanted from the beginning?
Right.
Like,
Right.
just go back to that. That's what you really want to do. This is what you really enjoy, you know. And then I kept thinking, like, well, and in this way, you'll be able to offer the most mental health services yourself, like without having to refer out. I won't have to go anywhere else. So, and I know a lot of people don't understand the difference between psychologists, therapists, and psychiatrists. Like, the people get those intertwined.
Yes, I just know one can prescribe,
Right.
one can't, like,
Right.
but they're all trying to help.
We're all trying to help. So
Yes.
we're all trying to help, but psychiatrists go to medical school. So they are medical doctors.
Okay.
They prescribe
can't prescribe.
medication.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes, yes.
okay.
So I am not in school for psychiatry. I'm not, my science is not my strong suit. I was not going that route. Psychology, if you're a psychologist, you can do therapy. You can also provide supervision. You can also be a professor.
Okay.
You can also, the thing about psychology, you can do intelligence tests.
Oh, cool.
So, like, some private schools do, like, they have to take certain achievement tests or intelligence tests or whatever to gauge and, like, score in a certain percentile rank to gain admission to some schools. Like, certain private schools are like that. Or if you're filing for disability, you will have to come in and take a test with it. We have to give you testing to determine where you fall, to determine if there is an actual intellectual disability. So those are testings that we can offer as well as psychologists. So I'll be able to offer those things, as well as I have a master's in counseling. So I am a trained
take on patients if you want
clinician,
to, right?
and have a completely, aside from this testing, I can just do one-on-one therapy with you. So those are the differences, people, for
Yes,
the.
so now
I know
we
it gets
know.
very, very confusing, but so I wanted to do both so that I can offer testing, I can see you as a client, I can teach, you know, and because I feel like a lot of people don't. I think mental health, even though it's about to be 2020, is still very, very, very stigmatized in such a negative light that people don't feel comfortable seeking help, and they don't feel comfortable talking about seeking help, and they don't feel like they need help.
Right.
So we just have a lot of people out here who want to get help but are almost too scared to take that first step.
Yeah, I think we as a society haven't embraced that as a real remedy, right? Or as like, you're not tough enough, or honestly, like, I'm gonna blame the patriarchy on this one. I complain about the patriarchy about how many times a day, so this is like number 4 today. But yeah, no, I think you're so right, and unfortunately I think people turn to medication before they turn to anything else. Right. And sometimes it's just having the opportunity to get right with yourself, to talk to someone about it, to even just go back. I feel so many times I go back to childhood. Yeah. I'm like, oh, wait, this makes so much sense, but no one ever asked me that question.
Exactly.
So I
never know to think back to those thoughts, those memories, and figure out what it is. And that's what I tell, like, people who come in to see me for the first time, and most people don't know, like, they're like, I don't know, I just wanted to try it out, But I always kind of tell people, like, my personal belief, this is not all therapists, but my belief is your family is your first relationship. So as a child, if you think about it, that's how you learned this is how I learned how to show love. Right. I learned that from seeing it. This is what you do when you're angry. Okay. This is how I show my anger. Right. Okay. This is what you do when you're sad. This is what you do when you're happy to see someone. This is what you act when you're mad at somebody. Right. Like, that is where you learn that.
And that's family, like chosen family. If you are adopted or foster kid.
Foster care.
Or sometimes, unfortunately, not even your chosen family. Right.
Not even your chosen family.
Where you ended up as a kid.
Exactly.
And who you were surrounded by.
So think about, like, if that's where I'm learning how to survive. Right. Think about kids who are going from house to house in foster care, or, and especially in foster cares in areas that have low SCS. Right. Where they're not really being taken care of. No one here is being taken care of. We're all just kind of winging it. Right. How does that kid learn to love? Right. How do they learn how to receive love once they meet someone and who wants to, care about them? They're not going to be very trusting in that because they don't recognize it. So I think people don't really understand how many beliefs are gathered during that time.
Right. And the foundations that are built.
Because even in your relationships, like, even living in a 2-parent household, whatever this, like, an ideal setup, you can still learn negative ways of coping. Like my parent, or like, for example, people's parents who don't talk, they don't communicate well. So they either, a lot of things aren't said or they argue. So I'm not going to have good communication.
Right. Even though I had that model.
Exactly. Even if I came from this ideal 2-parent household, my parents are still married, whatever. That doesn't matter if it's not healthy. Right.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Woof. We got to do a whole nother episode on relationships and all that good stuff. Yes. But I love that you talked about talking to yourself, talking to God. I know there are so many different ways that people communicate with higher powers, and I do think just having a conversation in general to ask those questions is such a great place to start. Were there other practices that you found particularly helpful that you would recommend to a friend, or just, if someone has come to you and said, I'm going through a really difficult transition, or I am really afraid of taking this plunge. How can I fill my spirit up to just be as strong as it can be, to know that, like, at the end of the day, I have myself to fall back on? Like, are there practices that you've seen that have been really successful, whether it's like meditation or diffuser or
candle,
or journaling? Like, I don't know. Have you found any practices that really resonate with you?
For me, no. I'm a very introverted extrovert. So I really need to think about everything. But if I'm overthinking it, it's getting into a bad place. So I need to talk about it. So I would probably say the most helpful thing for me is talking to someone that I feel like can give me support, but can also give me clarity and isn't afraid to push me. Right. And that 3 combination is very, very delicate balance. But I think having that person that you feel comfortable talking to, where you can air your thoughts out, but they can also help you say, like, well, you've been saying for like the past 5 months that you hate this. Right. So maybe it is time for a change. Because I think we kind of can trick ourselves and like, oh, I'm just having a bad day.
Right.
And it's like, well, girl.
No, it's been a pattern. Like, it's been a bad day like, every day this year.
Weekend, you've been telling me about the same thing. Right. So, having that person say like, well, no, it's okay. Because I think you don't want to feel like this is real. Mm-hmm. So I think feeling like it's okay to feel that way. Mm-hmm. And then also having someone be like, well, why don't you try to have something different?
Right.
Shoot for something different. I tell people I tell myself and I tell friends, like, if you don't want to be better, if you don't want to do anything differently, then you can't complain. Mm-hmm. And it sounds really harsh, but it's like, I can complain all day about like, oh, I have so many things I need to do. I don't want to do them, whatever. But if you don't get up and make a change, a mindful like decision, like, okay, I hate these things, right. things. I can change them or make this better by trying this and this and this and this. It's worth a shot,
right?
Because I always feel like the alternative is you're going to continue to feel like you feel
terrible,
and you'll feel down, and you'll feel terrible, and you don't feel motivated,
and then it becomes normalized,
and then it's
just
normal.
Like, okay, well, but that's how it's always been.
And I've had so many clients who are like, I didn't know I could not be anxious. I didn't know my depression.
Like, I don't even remember life without that.
Right. I didn't know I could be and feel normal or feel like, dang, like I kind of feel okay.
Right.
Because I've been constantly, jumping over these obstacles and these hurdles in my life all the time that I just feel like it's normal.
Right.
And I don't know another way to live.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That it's like, no, there is another way. There is always a better way. Like, I don't care if it's the bottom of the barrel, like things, happen that are out of our control. It happens to everybody, but things can improve. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if you can hold on to that hope and that faithfulness in your life and in your bigger purpose and in yourself, that like, this can be better, then you can do anything.
Right.
Because that's really all it takes.
So for you, what were the first few steps you took in saying, I'm switching gears? Like, I've made my decision. I came to my breaking point. I know I need to change something. How did you start that process? I think that's like really overwhelming for people. They're like, oh my God, like, where do I even begin? This feels like a mountain, and how am I going to move it?
Right. I had to decide. I had this epiphany on New Year's Eve of last year. So this is not even a year ago. I had my epiphany of like, I really hate this program. I don't want to do it. Maybe I am going to apply to Jackson State. Like, forget it.
Bloopers, we're not going to edit this.
We're not going to edit this.
We're not perfect.
This is just live. It's fine. So I had to decide in January when I got back to DC. I was like, you can't go to class. Like, you can't go to class this semester. It doesn't make sense to go to class in a program you don't want to continue and gain credits that you can't transfer because they're different disciplines. Like, I can't transfer counseling to a PhD. Well, to a psychology PhD. So I was like, you're going to waste money. You're going to waste loan money at that, because I'm not paying out of pocket for George Washington, but you're going to waste loan money. You're wasting your time going to class all semester when you don't want to be here. Right. And for what? Yeah. What are you doing that for? Like, you can't go to class. So I think when I tried, I was literally like, well, maybe I can't go to class because maybe I could just do one class and because we were in clinic. So we had to do clinic for a full year. And I already did have a semester. So I was like, so if I hadn't, that was the catch. If I didn't go to school January to May, if I didn't do clinic, then I would have had to start over. Okay. Had I decided, oh no, I'm going to stay at George Washington, then I would have lost all of my clinic
So you were
hours.
like, this, I gotta choose now.
Yeah,
like, I gotta
choose.
go.
I have to choose because but if I choose not to do it, I'm gonna lose clinic. So if I change my mind, I'm gonna have to do clinic all over again, all the way.
So you're like, I really gotta make sure that I know, like, I have some steps in place.
Right, but I don't. You know what I mean? Like, I have steps in there. I know this isn't for me. But it's not like I know I'm going to get accepted into this program. Yeah. I don't know
that. But that's amazing that even with such a hefty gamble, you still were like, okay, I accept it. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready for the next phase. I'm ready for the next journey because this is not for me. I feel like when you're just like, I'm putting so much on the line, but it's still not worth the risk of me not living the life that's right for me.
Right.
That's amazing.
Right. So that was my big step. Is like you have
Good for
to unenroll in classes.
Yeah.
You have to let them know. I had to take a leave of absence. That's what it's called. So I have to call the school.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I had this epiphany on December 31st. I did not call the school.
You remember the day.
I remember the day. I did not call the school to tell them that I was going to enroll until my birthday on the 22nd of January. Because I was just that freaked out. I was just like out of my body, freaking out.
So it's like physically feeling it.
Uncomfortable, like waking. Like I remember waking up in the morning, like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna decide? Are you gonna do it today? You should just call them. No, don't call them yet. We're not doing the.
Our bodies are amazing tools. I feel like they're like
God.
amazing vessels. Even though I'm sure like we complain about, we're like, oh my God, I'm anxious or I'm sad, I'm depressed. But also I think that that's
your body.
In many ways, your body
something.
Exactly. Your body's communicating with you. And I think that that's such a gift sometimes, even when it's so hard, it's so difficult. I don't want to I don't want to, say that anxiety and depression can't be like terrible and difficult things to struggle with them personally. But I think it's when you can listen to your body and find the ways that things physically present themselves, you're like, this is off.
Yeah.
I have to change it. I can't take this anymore.
Yes.
I have to go. So it sounds like your first step was not necessarily choosing something else or having all of the steps ready to go.
It's
it
just
was
saying
more
it's
so
not
like,
this.
I'm not choosing this anymore. And it reminds me almost even of like a relationship, because you had a relationship to school and to your education, your career path. It's almost like, okay, I don't choose this person anymore, and I don't necessarily have to have the
another person in the wings or
it's fine.
But it's just like, I can't do this.
Right.
So,
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. And that's because I'm also going through my own like thought process of, what in my life do I want to let go of and what do I want to keep? And I think you're so right. It's just like not choosing something else, because then that creates space
for
to choose something new.
Right. And for something
that.
new to come in.
Right.
Like you can't even, I feel like sometimes we're so busy caught up in like maintaining these things that we're like halfway about. I have one toe in this. I don't really know about it, but I'm here. I can't even see these other opportunities or these other people or these other relationships that I could have. And then I think like after I made the decision, I started seeing such a change in like, okay, well, you're not in school, so now you actually have time for like friendships and like, you can talk to people, you can make friends. Like I made one friend up until that point, like one genuine friend who's my coworker. Shout out to Kelly, who was just a phenomenal person for me to have met at that time, because we both moved for the job. She moved from New York. I moved from Atlanta at the time to take these jobs. We were both on the treatment team together. She was a dietitian at the job, and it was just like, do we like this? Like we would just have these talks like, like how long are we gonna be? It just felt off. And so like that was like, she was like my work person. And then I had my cohort. I was fortunate enough to be in a cohort of women at George Washington who were just truly phenomenal, just so understanding, so compassionate, so like, open to talking about like, well, I don't know, I've thought about leaving the program too. Where are you guys at with it? Because our first semester was so rocky collectively that, but it was just, it felt so much better to feel like I have these people or these like tribe of women to like, who were like, oh no, this sucks, or let's go get a drink, or, let's cry about it. And we would like burst into tears at random points during class and stuff, just because it was just so, it just felt so heavy all the time. And I was just so fortunate to have found those people. And then after that, finding girlfriends that, who were great, amazing sources of support for me toward, I guess from the time I decided not to be in school till I moved. Who I have solid friendships with that I could go and let's have dinner, let's go out and have a drink, like let's go and, just sit around and talk about life, and kind of like, it's like building relationships, I'm just having this space to, after that I've let go of these negative cloud over my life of uncertainty and confusion and anxiety. I've been able to open myself up to having new friendships and that I wanted, but I didn't really have time to foster
the space, right?
Right. So
I love that you talked about a tribe of women, which is what unnamed podcast,
Yes.
will hopefully become, I think so many people, unfortunately, I mean, it's so great that you had friends, and I think a lot of us sometimes have friends that we are afraid to reach out to, or, you know, am I actually that good of friends with them? Am I bothering? Right. So, right, if you have an immediate group of friends, amazing. But I also even think I've had a lot of conversations with female friends who have become isolated, right? Because the norm has become the anxiety, the fear, the not living into the life they know they really want, or just not even having the time or place to figure out the life that they want and go for it. So I do want to say podcasts became a really great community for me when I went back home to Mississippi, and really had to figure things out again, go back to the drawing board. And so I found a virtual community of women, and these women don't know who I am, they've never met me, but I was listening to their stories, and I was listening to their struggles, and I was listening to them just being so real and vulnerable. And I think those are such superpowers, right? I think we think vulnerability as this weakness, or as, you know, I think the patriarchy again, right, shames us into really opening up and sharing those parts of our lives that aren't perfect. But in listening to those podcasts, or in reading those blogs, or reading like Becoming by Michelle Obama, or whatever it is, I think women are such storytellers, and I think that through our stories we find strength, and we find ways to connect with each other.
It's like that camaraderie.
Exactly. And to know that you're not the only person in the world who is afraid, who is going through a transition. You know, unfortunately, social media can only represent part of the story, which is everything's beautiful and perfect, and my eyelashes are always like all the way to my eyebrows, and like, you know, all the things. But I think when we get vulnerable and when we can open up about those parts that aren't perfect,
like that's the beautiful part.
Exactly. I think that's where magic can happen, because when you recognize that you're not where you want to be, you put that onto the universe and then say, okay, great. Well, now where do I want to be? I have owned it. I've named it. I've known other people who've not been where they want to be. So, okay, cool. We know where we are. So now, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to move forward? And then even just, like, sharing ideas, or just for you saying, you know I just had to take the first step of not choosing this thing for me anymore. That can be revolutionary for some people to even hear that. So I'm so grateful that you shared that. Thank you. And one of the questions that I want to ask all people who I interview is, what is a risk that you've taken lately? Or what is a risk that you want to take? It sounds like this has been the year of risk taking.
Jumping off cliffs right and
left. But now that you're, you know, on this incredible, you got the ball rolling, you're moving forward. Maybe let's talk about the future. What is something that looking into 2020, a risk you want to take? And it can be small. It can be like, I want to, you know, I would love to go to yoga every day. Or it could be, I am thinking about where I want to live after I live in Jackson, or whatever it is. What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about, I have three. I have, my first one is probably with school. I think being in school again and being actually like a more challenging program, and it's like what I actually want to do. I think it's almost like, I don't want to say it's self-sabotage, but it's like I know I could be doing more, and I'm not. You know, so it's almost like, why aren't you going the extra mile in this class? Why aren't you studying harder for this? Why aren't you, you know, pushing yourself harder? You know what I mean? So I was also working. I worked part-time, and I was in school full-time. So I was like, oh, you're tired, you're busy, da-da-da-da. But I think, like, as the end of the semester rolled down, we got final grades. And, like, my grades were fine, but it was just like, you really could be doing more, and you're not. So, like, you need to push yourself. And I think for me, it's almost like that quote of, like, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's like, you know, being afraid that we are powerful beyond measure. And it's like I think it's a Martin Luther King quote. If I'm misquoting that, sorry y'all, but I think that's what it is.
Sorry, I'm
okay. No disrespect, but it's like, I think that's a fear. It's like, maybe I am more capable. Maybe I am powerful than I realize, and I'm scared to tap into that. You know what I mean? So I think for me, it's like, I really, really want to push past that in my job, in school, and like really like, okay, if we're saying this is what we want to do,
Right.
if we're saying this is our career, if this is what we're saying we're passionate about, let's go in.
Right.
But I think it's almost like a fear of like, what if it's not? You
Yeah.
know, what if it's not
Yeah.
what we think it is? What if it's not
Right.
the career we thought?
Right.
You know, then what?
Right.
What's going to happen if I put 100% into it and it doesn't pan out? But I think if I don't put 100% into it, I won't
Right.
find out.
It's almost like sorry to keep bringing it back to relationships, but
Yeah.
right, just like
I
an
was having
analogy.
that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, what if I fall in love with this person and then
Something happens.
we
Yeah.
break up, or they die.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Literally.
knock on wood, 'cause
Yeah.
my partner's
Knock on
probably
glass.
but
no,
yeah.
and that was my second
It's
one.
like, so let me just
second one-
mediocre. Let me
Yeah.
protect myself.
Yes, exactly.
Let me not love as
Exactly.
fully, or let me not push as hard because I don't
Right.
want to get disappointed, or I
Right.
don't want to disrupt this already, like, you know, where I am. I'm in my comfort zone now.
Yeah, and
like,
I feel
got
like
to a
it
place where
just
I'm
got to a
safe.
good place.
Right. But I love that, and I'm happy for you that's.
Yes.
I think that takes so much courage to be like, right, well, I already took a risk, and I'm ready to take more.
Right,
Let's
it's like,
go.
okay,
Bring it,
it's
2020.
gonna be hard, but we're gonna do it.
Yeah. So second one.
Second one is traveling. I know.
Yes.
I think in our socio-political climate now, traveling, it just feels it even as much as we don't want to admit it, we don't want to say it out loud, that we're like uncomfortable traveling overseas. We're uncomfortable kind of traveling internationally. What's going to be happening this particular day?
Right.
I'm in this
Right.
country, or I'm in this city. You know what I mean? But I'm like, okay, we can't, like, anything can happen. Anything
Right.
can happen in your house, you know, God forbid, but anything can happen at any time. So, like, I can't hold myself back on this exposure and these experiences that I want to have, and going traveling and with friends and traveling internationally, and, you know, just having some new experiences because I'm scared.
Right.
You know, so I think, so I've challenged myself to start my year off. I'm starting my year off. My birthday's in January. I'm starting my year off with an international birthday trip.
Oh, where you going?
So I'm going to Paris.
Oh my gosh! So you already are.
So I'm already
taking the
like,
risk. It's
yeah,
already
and I'm like
set.
literally like,
Amazing.
it's a month away. Like,
Are you solo traveling?
No. So
Okay.
I'm going with two of my best friends. We're really excited about it. We don't speak French, so I've been brushing up on like Spanish
I'm not
and
gonna lie,
French.
the French, I feel like, because I went only one time for a few days, and I feel like they're
It's
a
like,
lot like Americans. They're like, you need to speak French.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do about it?
Right, exactly. So I'm like
Great
really,
first international trip for you.
really
to take.
trying to like do. I have like my Duolingo notifications are going
Amazing.
crazy. So I'm like trying to like walk my talk, you know, and like actually say like, okay, you said
I'm so inspired.
You said you're gonna start traveling more, and you're not.
Yeah.
So you know, I'm like, okay, no, you're gonna push yourself.
That's
Just do it.
amazing.
Just go. For a couple of days, we're going for MLK weekend. We'll just come back and we're just gonna go and have fun and
Amazing.
enjoy the city. So that's my two. My three was about relationships and just I think it's just scary. Vulnerability is so scary. And like I recently started dating someone, and I like to think of myself prior to this that, oh, you're so vulnerable. Like you're so good at talking about your emotions, and you can talk about anything, da 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 da. And like I can't. And I did not know that about myself. So until I started dating this guy, and he was like, why are you holding back so much? Like, you haven't said, he like calls me out, and he's like,
All
oh,
right.
yeah, so like you really aren't telling me anything about yourself. Like I know you what you just said, you think that was really deep, but it wasn't.
He said that to you?
Yes. He's
Where
like,
is this man? Can he hold a seminar for all other
But
men?
he'll literally be like,
That's
I
amazing.
know, I can tell you're holding back. I
He
can
sounds
tell.
emotionally intelligent.
He's
That is
very
beautiful.
emotionally intelligent. To his full credit, and like he's very like, yeah. So you're really not actually being vulnerable with me, or you're not. Like I can tell you're holding back. Why are you holding back? Tell me. Like, talk to me. About
I'm
it.
like blown away
Yeah,
right
he's
now.
very,
I've
like,
never heard a friend tell me that about their male partner. I'm not gonna lie. Shout out to my male partner. Shout out to my boyfriend. He's amazing, and he does do that too. But wow.
But for us to be more of a fresh situation,
Yeah, that's
for him to
amazing.
be very like, I don't think that's right. Like he's very like,
love that.
why are you saying that? Or what does that look mean? Or you did this? Or you remember? Do you realize every time I offer to do this with you, you shoot me down? And I'm like, oh my God, like, can you back up off me for a second?
Right? Can you
know?
stop telling me about myself right now? I'm not ready to hear that.
But I think I'm so used to, as a therapist, being on the opposite side
Right.
of like,
Right.
oh, I can tell. I think let me use my insight
Yeah.
to tell you,
Yeah.
you know. But I'm not used to someone doing it to me. That I was just like, who do you think you are? Like, but I think I literally had to take a step back and be like, damn, he's right.
Right.
Like, I'm really uncomfortable talking about this. Like, physically, I can feel my body, like, tensing up, like, talking to him about certain things. And I'm like, girl, I thought we were vulnerable. We are not vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, we're vulnerable about the things we're comfortable about.
Right.
And I had to learn that. Like, I'm not vulnerable about things I don't want to talk about. I'm like a normal person who doesn't want to talk about it.
Right.
So I think challenging myself to not only be more open and be more vulnerable, but also I really think the part of that is letting someone really see you for who you are.
I love that.
And that is a very different, it's a much more deeper, intimate connection.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to have this really open moment with you or talk to you about something I don't think I've ever told anybody, or, you know, have this idea, or you're challenging that you see my body language change every time I bring something up, and not realizing how much something bothers me, you know, and just being more open in that regard with myself. And saying like, damn, like maybe this is something you need to work on, you know, and taking that and actually working on it. But also like taking a step towards dating someone who is that like in your face, because that can be kind of off-putting for some people.
It can be scary.
Yeah,
like if you're not ready for it.
If you're not ready for it, and like, and I get that for people who,
I'll be like, all right, I'm back on Hinge.
Right. Or people who like are dating a therapist, you know, and it's just like I don't really know, but you know. So it taking that leap to also like allow someone to see you, allow somebody to know you, allow somebody to get to know you, those inner workings and what makes you who you are, what are you passionate about, who do you love, why do you love them, how do you show you love them, you know, and allowing somebody to do that for you. And I think women especially are so used to like, let me cater to this, let me cater to you, let me do this for you.
Let me make this comfortable
for
you.
Let me make this comfortable. Let me accommodate you. Let me, you know, let me just love on you all day, you know, and just let you do whatever.
Right.
That I think it's harder to demand that like, no, this is what I prefer.
Right.
This is my preference. I would like for you to do this. Or this is what I want to do with you. Does that work with you?
Right.
You know, kind of thing. And not just being like, oh yeah, it's whatever. It's whatever you want to do.
I'm great. Yeah.
Right.
No.
So I think having the power in romantic relationships to know yourself enough to know what you want and what you deserve. Absolutely. And be able to ask for it, but also let somebody in while you do that, and let somebody see you, and let someone see those ugly parts of like, you know, I had a horrible day, or I watched this movie that's making me cry, and you know, or I'm just being weird in the kitchen dancing or something, you know, and just being yourself. And I think just having the courage and taking the initiative to just be who you are, and just feeling loved, being who you are. You know, I think that's just.
This dropping so many knowledge bombs in here today. I'm just like, yes, I want to talk about that in this episode, and like, but certainly, yes, 100%. Loving yourself, I think, is the first step into being able to really know what you want, and then be able to demand it. Yes, absolutely, ask for it. I love that. And want to end on a positive note. I feel like, so all of the questions I was thinking about asking, I feel like you've already answered. But I do want to ask them, maybe, you know, if this is something you feel like you haven't really fully gotten to flesh out. What's a moment lately where you just felt like a boss? You felt like a queen. You were so proud of yourself, and you're like, man, I'm kind of amazing. Like, oh my God. Yeah.
Ooh.
It can be like, oh my gosh, I folded all my laundry. I'm a queen. Or it could be, you know, I like put myself first this week, and it felt really good in my relationships or whatever.
This is probably like a childish, this is like I'm becoming an adult thing. Like me going to the eye doctor, or like I went to the eye doctor and the dentist over the last month, and I did not have my mom with me.
Yes! Adulting so hard.
And I paid my copay myself.
Boom!
I paid it from my debit account. I didn't pay it on my credit card.
Yes.
I didn't, it was like, oh, bill my mom. Because like, they were like, oh, do you want me to just bill it? I was like, I got it. But I think like not only, it felt good just to be able to do that and be able, I can financially afford to do that, because that hasn't always been the case with like my, you know, ups and downs of jobs and like where I was living and So being able to like pay for it, and also like that, I feel like I'm helping my parents. I feel like my parents have done gone up and beyond the moon and back for me, for my brother, and have been just the most supportive parents I could possibly ask for. And like my grandparents especially too, like have helped raise me a lot of my upbringing was due to my grandparents, and my family just has really just always supported my career. They've always supported whatever I wanted to do, whatever I came to my mom, literally had my epiphany at my aunt's house crying about not wanting to do that program anymore. Came to my mom's and I was telling her, she's just like, okay.
Oh, that's so
beautiful. Like, what
so
do we need to do? And so
shout out to Mama Horn.
Shout out to Mama Horn, who's thebomb.com. So she is absolutely phenomenal. Mom, if you're watching, love you so much. Dad, I love you so much. Y'all are amazing. But
I love y'all too.
Sarah loves y'all too. But just being able to have that, like, being able to feel like I'm giving back, even though I can't possibly repay my parents for everything that they've done for me and all the support and all the love and guidance and all the things. I can't, there's no way I can pay you back, but just to be able to like, I paid my dental bill, so y'all don't have to worry about it. I paid my eye doctor visit, y'all don't have to worry about that either. And just, whenever my mom asked me to come over and help with my grandmother or, whatever, just trying to be available. I think those make me feel the most like empowered, that like, not only am I doing all the things that I said I wanted to do, and I'm in the space where I'm seeing clients, I'm working in private practice, I'm in the program I always wanted to be in, I'm living in this amazing apartment, everything seems to be kind of falling into place when it's December, when 11 months ago, I swear everything was shattering.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And isn't it amazing how quickly... I mean, I'm sure, like, in the moment, it doesn't feel quick. Fast. It's like, oh, my God, I'm in quicksand. I'm dying.
Right.
This is terrible.
But literally, I, like, drive around like, damn, you were so scared to make this change.
Right.
You were so scared to come back to Jackson. You were so scared to, like, take this leap and really seek the things that you want. And for what? It has been great.
And now you're living with one of your best friends.
I'm living with my best friends in the world.
Home.
A beautiful home.
Shout out to this couch. It's been very comfy. This apartment's beautiful.
Thank you.
And a program that you love with a new
potential dating something.
And you just seem so happy and just have this beautiful light. And of course, I feel like we shouldn't, feel like, I have to always be perfect and happy and chipper and
and it's not
but
that.
But just recognizing their seasons.
Right.
And like, you're in such a
it's
light-filled
just a great
season right now.
of like I'm surrounded by my family that I adore. My closest friends are from Jackson and live in Jackson, or are still closer in Jackson than they were to me in DC. I'm in a program that challenges me. It's kicking my ass, but I still love it. And, I'm trying to do it. I'm learning, about myself as a therapist, as I'm being able to like work with clients, different types of clients I haven't worked with before, and trying to working on my own skills, but still feeling like I'm still getting that passionate part out. Yeah. But it's all like, it's just little pieces. I always tell people it's like a puzzle, like finding that good recipe.
Yeah.
It's like, what do I need? What are these little things that I need to figure out that I really need?
Right. And we don't figure, I feel like there's this expectation after college. It's like, all right, dream job, let's go. Yeah. Like, I'm out of college, or, I know everyone has different pathways, but it's like, all right, when do I get my dream job? Like early 20s. And it's like, no,
and it doesn't happen like that.
Pick and choose. You take away what you need to take away from all these different lived experiences, relationships, jobs, school, and I think you're constantly crafting this like beautiful, I love the word puzzle. Like you're just kind of putting the little pieces together.
I love this about Atlanta.
Yes.
Great. Okay, well I want to find this in the next place I live in.
And then find the pieces that don't fit.
Yeah.
And you know what?
And just be like, actually, I don't even need this piece. Right. This is from a different puzzle. I don't even need this piece.
I love that. That's so good. Well, thank you so much. I just love catching up with you.
I know. And Sarah and I, for the record, talk like this pretty much all the time. Anytime we have a random dinner catch up, we'll be like, oh no, we're good on food. We're just going to continue to sit here and talk. Thank you, though.
More wine, though, please.
More wine, always.
Well, thank you so much. And felicidades. I'm just so happy for you. And thank you for sharing with me and for hopefully sharing with a community of people who can resonate with a lot of your experiences.
I hope so.
We'll end with a hug. Mwah. Gracias. Love you too.
Well, thank you guys. Hope you all enjoyed.